Hello everyone, I'm Autobot Sonic the Telltale Gamer, bringing latest learning Telltale games, Transformers, and more. Welcome back to yet another Transformers EarthSpark review. Now, it's been quite a while since our last review. It was about almost 2 weeks ago as of posting this video, when I posted my review episode 5, Classified. So now we're in the back half of the first 10 episodes of Season 1 of EarthSpark. Now, just remember, these 10 episodes are not the entirety of Season 1. We've still got 16 more episodes that have yet to be released, and clearly they're not going to be releasing one every week as I had previously thought. It seems like we'll be probably getting another batch of episodes. I'd say probably the next 8 or so episodes within the next few months, and then a few months after that, we'll get the rest of Season 1. And then Season 2, which has been confirmed, I'm super excited for that. Season 2 of EarthSpark will probably be premiering some point in, I'd say, late winter 2023 or like early spring 2024 at the latest. So just keep an eye out for that. I'm just happy we're going to be getting more EarthSpark after Season 1 ends, because with these 10 episodes, I'm actually loving them. But anyway, yeah, here we are with the second half of these 10 episodes of Transformers EarthSpark, going into what I like to assume is the second last, I guess, of the, or really, truly, actually the last of the introductory episodes, per se. So, if episodes 1 and 2 are basically just introducing the premise of the show, episode 3, moving in, gave us an insight into Bumblebee's character, episode 4, House Rules, gave us a lot more insight into Thrash, and then Classified gave us more of an insight into Ghost. This episode is essentially the House Rules, but for Twitch. So, if episode 4, House Rules, is all about Thrash, this episode is definitely all about Twitch, but actually does have some other stuff about a lot of other characters. Of course, we get, last time with also Robbie, Alex, and Bumblebee as well, and of course, another character who does get introduced in this episode, and hopefully we'll be seeing more of them while they don't show up at all later on in these 10 episodes, I hope they show up later on in Season 1. So let's go ahead and see everything this episode did right and what it did wrong. Today's review is going to be covering Transformers EarthSpark Season 1, Episode 6, Traditions, and it starts off at nighttime with Alex, Robbie, and Mo inside the kitchen of their house, with Alex telling Robbie and Mo about the legend of the Wok Wok. Now, many of you who don't know, the Wok Wok is an actual real-life mythological creature in Filipino mythology and folklore, which is essentially their version of Dracula, a big, giant anthropomorphic bat that hunts people in the night, just sort of the boogeyman, but for Filipino culture. And again, I really, really love this, that Alex really is, while Robbie does have a lot to do in this episode, it's really Alex who's the main human character in this episode. I'd still argue that Twitch is the main character in this episode, but Alex really has a lot to do in this episode, and it's such a breath of fresh air considering how important Dot was to the story of these past 3 episodes. So it's nice to see Alex now getting equal love in the series like Dot did as well. So, of course, at first it doesn't seem like, well, Mo is engaged by it and seems more frightened by it. Of course, Robbie isn't. It seems like, though, he's been hearing the story a lot, and we'll see this confirmed later on in the episode. But eventually, though, as Alex starts telling more of the story, he starts getting freaked out about it as well. But Robbie then says he needs to go to bed because he's got a big video game tournament that he's gonna go partake in the next day. So he and Mo go to bed, and as Alex is just putting away all his books and all that, Twitch and Thrash are eavesdropping in on him through their like fold-up windows that we saw him and Bumblebee make back in House Rules, and they wonder about what the Wok Wok is. So then Alex goes to tell them the story of the Wok Wok that night, and that cuts into the next day. After that cold open, we then cut to the next day, where we see Robbie heading into the barn, presumably to get ready for his gaming tournament. And it's that point, Alex jumps out of the barn, scaring him and inviting him to go on a traditional Wok Wok hunt with him, which is apparently something that Robbie, and Mo have been doing ever since they were little. But however, Robbie doesn't seem as enthusiastic for it, as Alex reminds him again that he has the big video game tournament that he's partaking in as well, and just doesn't really seem that the Wok Wok hunt is as exciting as it used to be, which Alex seems kind of disappointed by. And that's sort of the theme of this episode, hence the name of the episode, Traditions. It's very much so that Alex just loves doing these family traditions with his children, and the fact that they're no longer into it as much as he is, it kind of upsets him to a degree. So he tries to go get Mo to come with him instead, but Mo can't because she's busy helping Thrash, who has apparently become enamored with music, as we see this really, really adorable shot of Mo and helping Thrash assemble like this big makeshift guitar out of like a bucket and a bunch of like, I'd assume, like clothesline strings, and it's really, really cute. And this actually plays into like a really cute thing that happens at the end of this episode. And while Mo and Thrash's really only big scene this whole episode aside from the ending, it is cute to see we have this little side bit of Mo teaching Thrash how to play guitar, and it just, even though he's playing poorly though, it's really cute what they do later on in this episode. I just can't stop gushing over that. After that though, you can see Alex is clearly upset by all this, that Robbie and Mo don't want to partake in his walk hunt, and that's that point he runs into Bumblebee, who is seen just dribbling a basketball out in the yard and tries to throw it out from halfway across the homestead into the basket, but misses. But Alex tries and manages to get it through on his first try, which Bumblebee is immediately shocked by and wants to learn how to shoot hoops as good as Alex does. And here's something that really that happens. I'm really happy about how Alex and Bee's relationship has grown since they were first introduced back in episode 3. That they seem like a lot more on friendly terms, and while it seems as though that Bee maybe is still a bit put off by how much Alex worships Bumblebee as a big hero, as we see here that Alex wants to just hang out with Bee more, and Bee's worried that he's gonna use that as another excuse to read his diary, which he apparently has. It's really cool to see though that Alex is really into just showing like who he is as a person, that he's been wanting to learn more about Bumblebee and the rest of the Transformers, as we've seen through episode 1 and 3, but now he wants to do the same and show Bee about his story. I really like that. And the cool thing is, I absolutely love the animation of this. I'm gonna just take this as a point to plug in the storyboard artist for this episode, or at least one of the storyboard artists, Stephanie Ressler. She did an amazing job storyboarding this whole scene of Robbie, Mo, and Alex at the barn, Bumblebee shooting hoops and all that. She actually posted the storyboards for this episode on her YouTube channel, which I'm showing clips of in this, which you can see a link to down below. I've been a big fan of Stephanie Ressler's work. She's done a lot of cool storyboard art for other stuff on Twitter and YouTube. You may recognize her doing work on the music video for the rap group 21 on their song Time Machine. But one of my favorite videos of hers was another Transformers storyboard she did a few years back, which was basically a cover of the song Candy Store from Heather's the Musical, but with Starscream, Skywarp, and Thundercracker singing it to Windblade. And that storyboard musical is one of my favorites, and the fact that I saw that she got to do official storyboards for EarthSpark, her personality and like her storyboard design shines through in these characters. Sure, the final version isn't as dramatic and over the top as her storyboards, which I'm a little bit disappointed by, but it's still so cool to see her style come to life in EarthSpark. So if you guys have the chance, go please check out her YouTube channel and give her some love, because she is an amazing storyboard artist. So now after this, the story cuts to Twitch and folk follows her for a bit. But I just want to go more and just talk a bit more about Alex and Bee's relationship throughout this whole episode, because I really think, as much as I love Twitch, I think that she definitely is a star in this episode. I just want to talk about how much I absolutely love how Alex and Bee were bounce off each other in this episode. So essentially, Bumblebee decides to take up Alex on his offer and joins to go on his walk hunt with him. And we get this really cool scene where Alex is essentially explaining his history of the walk to Bumblebee. But there's this really cool spot where he's out with Bumblebee, and he shows him this down tree stump, basically explaining to him how you can tell like the life a tree had just by basing its measurements of its like rings and like the markings on it, which Bumblebee is really impressed by and wonders how Alex knew about all this. And basically he explains, we learn more about Alex through here, and we find out why he decided to become a history teacher. It was because of his father, who had apparently just been really enveloped in history and just sort of passed on his love for history to Alex, and that's what made him want to become a history teacher and what makes him so focused on preserving other people's traditions and such in that sense. And I absolutely really love this part, because there's this one moment here where Alex is still talking about his father and mentions how he grew up on one of the islands in the Philippines, and Bumblebee mentions too at the same point that happens to be the same island where back, I guess, probably some point when he was still undercover after the war ended, or maybe even before the war started on Earth, he had been doing drag races at a nearby airport on the island Alex lived on, which he's really excited by. And you can see for a split second, there's a split second where Alex seems like he wants to press B more on a subject, learn more about how literally his hero had so many adventures on his home island and all that. But he stops himself and reminds himself, saying that he wants to make this all about him telling B his history and not the other way around. Now, I think this is such a huge moment for Alex, because Yes, while B seems to be more than happy to share his experiences with Alex and just bond with him more, Alex doesn't want to take advantage of him as he's been doing throughout earlier episodes in this series, and I absolutely love that. I think John Briones, who's Alex's voice actor, does an absolutely fantastic job of voicing him in this episode. This easily Alex, and to a lesser extent Twitch's standout episode in this season so far. And John Briones, again, just does a fantastic job as him, which, fun fact, for any who may be wondering, I totally didn't recognize this until I saw a video showing the world premiere for EarthSpark that came out last month. While John Briones himself hasn't really done a lot of acting stuff aside from a few minor roles and other things, his son, Teo Briones, is also an established actor who, for any horror fans, may recognize him having played Junior back in Season 1 of the Chucky TV series. And I had no idea that Teo Briones was his son in real life until I went to see this, like a live stream of the EarthSpark premiere, and he was there, and I'm like, wait, why is he there? And until it clicked in my mind that, oh, he's John Briones' son. And wow, man. Because I just think it's so crazy that, yeah, John Briones, I didn't expect Alex to be as a big character as he is. And he and Bumblebee just bounce off each other so well. I really hope to see more of this as the series goes on. And so we get to see like this really cool part where essentially B ends up believing the Walk Walk is real too, because he, just like while he was living on the Philippines doing all these drag races, he apparently picked up too about the story of Walk Walk and believes it to be real like Alex. So they started like doing like a training montage to prepare to fight the Walk Walk, with Bumblebee grabbing these 2 large tree sticks to use as his Kali sticks, which of course is like the ceremonial traditional martial art the Philippines use. Any of you people who don't know this may recognize Kali sticks as those really annoying melee weapons people used to two-shot people with all the time back in Call of Duty Warzone. So anyway, if anyone's wondering where the Kali sticks came from, you might recognize them from there as well. And just the fact that we get this like really cool spot of Alex and B training together with like Kali sticks, even though B's just using these large branches as substitute ones, super cool. And it lets us see that Alex is like, despite his, you wouldn't think that he's such like an athletically or just competent person based on his build, but I just think this is such a cool way to show off that despite how he looks, Alex is still just as capable as his wife even, and I love that. So eventually, we see B is just having a great time with Alex and all that. However, he realizes, though, that this is really something that Robbie and Mo should be doing with him, which, yes, I totally agree with him. And Alex explains that, essentially, he feels like Mo and Robbie think that this tradition is too lame or whatever for them to do, but Bumblebee realizes that that it's not much about doing something that's fun, but just making memories with your family, and this is something that meant to Alex a lot when he was younger, so he wants to share that with his children. So B sets out to go back to the farm to find Robbie and Mo and try and convince them to go hang out with Alex. But unfortunately, that's really the end of Alex and B's story, mostly B's in this episode, so we're gonna go ahead and jump over to the main story now involving Robbie and Twitch. So now we flash back a little bit earlier to before Alex and B left. We see Robbie rummaging around in the barn looking for something when Twitch, who is still living there while Mo and Thrash are out practicing music, barges in just asking Robbie what he's doing, and he explains that he's looking for his lucky like headrest pillow to use in the gaming tournament, and it basically explains to Twitch what a tradition is, and it's essentially something that you do with the ones you love so that you realize you belong with that family. And that sort of starts an identity crisis for Twitch that sticks throughout the entirety of this episode, where she feels like, since she doesn't really have a tradition aside from like a little secret handshake with Robbie, which I think is cute to have like this brother-sister dynamic between Robbie and Twitch doesn't really feel like she has a proper tradition on the same sense that Robbie and Mo have with Alex with their Walk Walk hunt and so on. So that sets out Twitch's mission for this episode, to try and make her own tradition with someone in the hopes of proving to herself that she truly belongs with the Maltos. And it leads to this really, really adorable scene. I just absolutely love Twitch in this episode. Catherine Kavari does a fantastic job as her. I see everyone online saying that Twitch is like easily just like a sweet, precious baby whoever wants to protect their life. And I mean, like, especially here when Twitch is peeking in on Robbie as he's in the middle of his gaming tournament. I don't know if he's probably a big League of Legends or Valorant player, if I'm honest, maybe Overwatch. And so basically, as Robbie's trying to focus on the game, Twitch just barges in through his window asking like what if it's okay if she can go on the Wok Wok hunt with Alex. So while Robbie says he can, Twitch basically just starts asking him questions about what exactly she needs for a Wok Wok hunt. And at the whole time, she's just got this really adorable big smile on her face as Robbie talks to her like absentmindedly while he's trying to focus on his game. And it's literally the cutest thing ever, even as she comes back out and like rips out like 2 fresh trees that Dot had planted earlier to use as Cali sticks for the Wok Wok hunt, and Robbie tells her not to put them back before Dot finds out. It's absolutely adorable. So after Robbie basically explains the premise of the Wok Wok hunt to Twitch, she sets out into the woods to go ahead and try and find Alex and B. However, she gets lost on her own when she ends up getting stunned by an unknown figure, like who shoots her with like some sort of EMP gun and all that. However, as the figure appears, we find out this is not a enemy, but actually Wheeljack, who makes his first debut in EarthSpark. Now, this isn't me like complaining about Wheeljack, because I'm not gonna take points off this episode for like how Wheeljack is portrayed in this episode. First off, I love Wheeljack's design in EarthSpark. It seems like a much more slicker version of his G1/Cyberverse appearance, and I love that he keep his sort of cowboy mad scientist personality from Cyberverse, where you can see like his faceplate is retractable just like it was in Prime, but he's also got like the sort of fake facial hair / beard that Cyberverse Wheeljack had, and he of course has a Texan accent as well, just like Cyberverse Wheeljack. So Wheeljack initially believes the drone is one of his because if you remember from episode 2 when Twitch scanned one of Wheeljack's drones for her alt mode, obviously Leah noted that one went missing, so they believed it to be a glitch on Wheeljack's part. So he believes that this is the missing drone that went missing all the way back in episode 2. However, when Twitch finally wakes up, she tries to fight off Wheeljack, which Wheeljack believes perhaps the drone evolved and somehow has gained sentience, not realizing it's a Terran. So then Twitch, though, eventually reveals herself to him, and he's totally, like, shocked by the fact that, and almost honored by the fact that Twitch decided to take her alt mode off of his drone. So there's this really funny trend that starts through this episode now, where Twitch essentially believes that since she based her alt mode off one of Wheeljack's inventions, that technically makes Wheeljack her second father. So she goes around calling him Dad 2 for the entirety of this episode. And at first, Wheeljack just absolutely has nothing to do with it. He doesn't want to have any part in being with Twitch because he thinks just being around her is a threat to both him and her, and the fact that Ghost seems to be after both of them. So Wheeljack tries to leave Twitch alone and just go back to his own duties. I love this this chemistry between Twitch and Wheeljack, and this estranged father-daughter relationship they almost have together. I gotta say, for the most part, while I do love Wheeljack's interactions with Twitch, I gotta say Michael T. Downey, the voice actor who plays Wheeljack, I'm not sure if he's the best match for Wheeljack, because if I'm honest, Billy Bob Thompson, who played him in Cyberverse, did a lot better job of it, in my opinion. Not I'm saying that Michael T. Downey does a bad job as Wheeljack, I just don't think he's the best fit for the character, because when I think Wheeljack, I think a lot gruffer and maybe a bit more eccentric, and while Michael T. Downey certainly brings a bit of eccentricness to EarthSpark Wheeljack, I just don't think it's the level that I'm used to. Though, full points though to EarthSpark Wheeljack's design, I love it. It's definitely not my favorite Wheeljack design though, that still goes to Prime Wheeljack, and I think James Horan did a great job as in reinventing the character back in that series. But for EarthSpark, from a design standpoint, I think Wheeljack's a great character. Now, throughout these whole scenes between Alex and Bumblebee, Twitch and Wheeljack, and then Robbie and Mo and Thrash, we've been actually seeing more of Mandroid, who we last saw back in episode 2, Secret Legacy Part 2, where he escaped his factory while Hardtop, the Insecticons, and Skullcruncher all got arrested by Optimus and Ghost. So we see Mandroid is back at a new base, presumably trying to master the use of his new prosthetic arm, the one he stole from Hardtop, by using it to grab a large Cybertronian-sized blaster pistol and shoot at a cardboard cutout of Optimus, which he seems to struggle with based on the huge weight of the gun and the arm. And while he's struggling with it, he does pick up on more for Terran signatures based off the ones he found off Twitch and Thrash back in episodes 1 and 2. So following this signature, he tasks an army of Arachnimechs to head out into the surrounding woods of Midwiki and try and capture Twitch and Thrash, to his belief. Now, this is the only time, again, we see Mandroid in this episode. We'll see more of him, though, in the next 3 episodes, and he does do some pretty cool stuff, but it's nice get a little pickup on Mandroid. And while Mandroid himself isn't a big figure this episode, the fact that his Arachnomex play as the antagonist episode, I think, is a much bit better change of pace than just day-to-day stuff like we had with Ghost in episode 5, or just the cows being run by the train episode 3. I like more stuff where there's a clear villain of the episode, in my opinion. So while Wheeljack goes off on his own trying to get away from Twitch, Twitch desperately follows after him in the efforts to catch up to him, though she gets caught by one of the Arachnomechs that Mandroid had sent out. And while it seems as though the Arachnomech actually took down Twitch, we then see that Wheeljack's off on his own when we think it's an Arachnomech that's chasing after him, but it's actually Twitch who returns to him with the dead Arachnomech that she had managed to destroy, and tries to take it up as almost like an offering to him, trying to make this a tradition of bug Arachnomech hunting with Wheeljack, which again he really doesn't seem too fond of, in that he thinks really Twitch is better off being on his own. Though he does believe, though, while since that Twitch was an invention based off one of Wheeljack's inventions, he does want to teach her basically how to master her alt mode to her full potential. And while we did see in the last episode, episode 5, that she is now able to use her wings as sort of blades to slice through objects, we also see she has a brand new variety of abilities that she learns in this episode that come into play in future ones too. So it's cool to see this episode, similar to how House Rules sort of acted as a level up episode for Thrash, where he learned to use his sidecar as a shield. This episode functions as a level up episode for Twitch, where she learns to use her own alt mode and just gain new abilities in the process. So we get this at the same time where Alex and B are practicing their Callie and Arnis and all that. Wheeljack teaches Twitch all about having to master her alt mode by teaching her how to use her built-in EMP ray built into her alt mode, while also using her propellers to create a sort of wind storm, kind of like how Windblade does with her fan blades in other continuities. And I absolutely love that they're having this bonding moment between each other, because like I said, I absolutely love Wheeljack and Twitch's relationship in this episode, even though I'm not too sold on Wheeljack's voice in this episode, but it's still really, really good. So anyway, after they're done training and Twitch comes back later with the broken Arachnomech, suddenly when Wheeljack is trying to leave again, he gets attacked by a bunch of Arachnomechs that now come out of the woods, which originally, at first, Twitch and him believe are the Walk, but they attack Wheeljack, but Twitch manages to save him by using what he had taught her about her own mode. First off, using her EMP blast to shoot a bunch of them, but then also blowing her propellers to create a gust of wind and knocks them all off of Wheeljack. So they're stuck fighting off their own Arachnomechs, while meanwhile Alex has to fight some as well, but we'll get to that in just a bit. So while Twitch and Wheeljack are fighting off all these Arachnomechs, we cut back to Robbie, who is back at the Malta homestead alone in his game competition, which he actually does manage to win, surprisingly. I thought it was going to be he ends up losing, or maybe he'd throw the game to go save Twitch or something like that. But no, he ends up winning it, and so he goes out to the barn to go and try and tell Twitch, Thrash, and Mo about how excited he is that he won it. However, Alex, of course, is out with B in the forest, so is Twitch with Wheeljack. Mo and Thrash aren't there, though, which I guess that they're probably must be later at somewhere farther on the farm, maybe by the cows and all that, practicing music instead, but it's just kind of weird that Mo and Thrash aren't there at the very least. So with Robbie realizing that pretty much no one's around to celebrate with him on his victory, he feels like that maybe he should have gone out to go and on the walk hunt with Alex. So he sets out into the woods alone, not realizing that Twitch and Wheeljack are being attacked by all the Arachnomechs and just how dangerous it is in general. So eventually all the Arachnomechs do end up finding Robbie, which he discovers that they seemingly wants his cyber sleeve, believing that the energy it has could power up the Arachnomechs or just be proved useful to Mandroid in some capacity. So we get this cool chase sequence where Robbie is running away from all these Arachnomechs, and considering he really can't do anything against them, so he gets to this one point where he ends up crawling inside a big downed log to try and escape. He ends up rolling down a hill, crushing a few Arachnomechs in the process, though he ends up falling into a ditch where he gets cornered by a bunch of Arachnomechs. It seems like they're about to corner him and rip off his arm to try and get the cyber sleeve. Alex comes in and throws one of his Callie sticks at one of the Arachnomechs to kill it, and then he jumps down to defend Robbie, basically to try to help him, remind him of his own Arnis training that they had done when he was younger. So Robbie just quickly picks up two sticks, little twigs to use as makeshift Callie sticks, similar how B did earlier in this episode, and we get this really cute but also pretty cool scene of Alex and Robbie battling all the Arachnamechs with their Kali sticks and makeshift ones. And as I said before with Alex before, it's so cool to see that despite his stature compared to Dot, he's nearly just as capable as she is in terms of like a combat scenario. I think that's just so cool to see. Even Robbie too, to a degree, making the human children actually competent and not just having to just constantly run all the time and let the Transformers fight their battles for them. I think that's such a cool thing to see. So eventually though, Robbie and Alex do manage to defeat all the Arachnamechs that they're fighting. Meanwhile, Twitch and Wheeljack destroy all theirs. And so it seems like their stories wrap up pretty nicely there. So Robbie agrees that he's going to spend more time with Alex, even though he thinks that the tradition's a bit lame. He still thinks it's the right thing to do to hang out with him at least a little bit every now and then. While Twitch seems to be more intent on believing that this could be her and Wheeljack's tradition that makes her finally feel like this is something that she belongs with. Though it's at this point Wheeljack tries to deny that, but instead say that she doesn't need a tradition to basically show what it basically know that she belongs. Like, and as we've seen this really cool scene between Twitch and Wheeljack where she questions her own existence, if she's a Cybertronian, an Autobot, a Terran, a drone, all these different things. Is she any of them? Is she all of them? She doesn't know, but Wheeljack tries to break it down for her, saying that she has a family who loves her, she's happy with her brother Thrash and the rest of her siblings, Robbie and Mo. So and they all care for her, why does she need a tradition to be happy? And at this point that Twitch does realize that, yeah, she doesn't need a tradition to essentially be happy, but Wheeljack says he is more than happy, though, to make sort of Arachnamech hunting their own tradition. And it's at this point that Wheeljack sort of finally accepts Twitch as a surrogate daughter of sorts. And I think that's such a cute message to tell, and I'm sure that's gonna resonate with maybe a lot of, like, adopted kids, maybe who like living with like their own guardians or foster parents. And it's such a cool concept to see. I really hope we see more of Twitch and Wheeljack working together in the future, because although this is the only episode Wheeljack appears in these 10 episodes, I really hope we see more of him and Wheeljack together. So eventually Robbie and Alex return along with Twitch and Wheeljack. They all tell their story to Bumblebee, Mo, and Thrash, who are there, and we even get to see a little bit of the results of Mo teaching Thrash how to play music, as we see Thrash actually learned how to play one of Alex's father's old Filipino songs on his makeshift guitar. And while it's not exactly the best, it's really cute to see that he and Mo did this to sort of try and cheer up Alex. And it really makes me hope that I would love to see maybe we get a filler episode in the rest of season 1 or even season 2 where we get like a rock where Twitch, Thrash, Robbie, and Mo put together little like rock bands and try to go around like playing music to everyone. I think that'd be so cool to see. And so that was my review of Transformers EarthSpark Season 1, Episode 6, Traditions. If I had to rate this episode, I'd probably give it a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10. Honestly, a really good episode. Like I said before with House Rules, this is essentially the Twitch equivalent of that. This is Twitch's spotlight episode. We get a lot of focus on her, especially Wheeljack. I love her relationship with him. And of course, even surprisingly more, I love Alex and B's relationship in this as well. We get to learn a lot more about Alex and Steam in this really cool fight scene with him and Robbie against all the Arachnamechs, even Twitch and Wheeljack against them too. We get to see Twitch learn a lot more abilities to like her EMP ray and use her wind turbine to sort of like to create tornadoes and stuff like that. It's really cool. The only cons I have to say really are the fact that it seems as though just Mo just sort of disappears when Robbie's there. Like, I can assume, I guess she and Thrash are off somewhere else. And also just, I'm not the biggest fan of Michael T. Downey's performance as Wheeljack, but those are very minor nitpicks. Otherwise, this is a really good episode. That's gonna be this review, though. I'll be back soon with episode 7, Friends and Family. If you like this review, be sure to like, comment, and of course subscribe, and I will see you guys later.